Hey besties, it's Cam from the internet. And remember how I said I wasn't going to talk about the TikTok ban, probably? I lied. Put your pants on. We're going to talk about it. I was thinking as I was working on other episodes of this podcast, especially now that there is a video component, I have to edit and review the captions and all this stuff. And it got me thinking about my existence on the internet in general, but it was also making me think about where I was in January when the TikTok ban was looming. And it's important to note that as of this recording, which is in the beginning of February, there is still the looming threat of a TikTok ban in place. It'll be sometime in April, I think. But that's as far as we've gotten. So when I was watching the time tick ever closer to the TikTok ban coming into effect in January, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't actually expect anything to come of that ban, to the point where I don't think I properly emotionally processed it until a couple hours before I lost access to the app. Maybe this is my ADHD. I don't know. But what I do know is that by the time it was actually time for said ban to happen, I had an entire emotional moment, I guess. And I know that a lot of people on TikTok were posting videos that they would later say that they regretted. There was that one audio that was trending that was like, since we're all gonna die, there's one more secret I feel I have to share with you. And then people they were disclosing absolutely buck wild things. And I instead chose to make a very different kind of video, which I'm going to insert here. If you are just listening, you'll hear just the audio. If you are watching, you will see it on your screen. Because while a lot of people are regretting what they said in what they thought would be their farewell videos, I do not regret what I said, and I actually feel very strongly about what I said, so I'm going to insert that. So it looks like TikTok is actually going under. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of hope that that would not be the case. So this is kind of probably gonna be my last video, unfortunately. So I just want to do a couple things. First of all, reiterate that you can follow me other places. Most common of my presence will be my Substack and YouTube, both of which you can find in my bio. It's the same name on Substack or on YouTube, and on Substack it's Hey Besties, it's Cam from the internet. I will try to be more active on Instagram, but I have no idea if that'll work. My Instagram's also Hello Cameo. But I don't want to lose contact with the people I've made connections on here with, so please come find me if you want to, because I will really, really miss all that this app has to offer. And then also, I'm an older sibling at heart, and so I just want to say, I know that for a lot of people this rightfully feels like another nail in a coffin of what the next 4 years are going to look like. And I'll be the first to say that I have felt a lot of despair and a lot of hopelessness around what the future looks like. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to, have hope and stay positive, because that feels really, really fake. Especially to me, I'm sort of a brutal realist and not even an optimist. But what I will say is, if there's one thing this app has taught me, it's the power of connection. It's the power of allowing yourself to be seen and watching things open up to you. A lot of people that I know have made meaningful connections on this app because they've just chosen to show up as themselves, instead of performing for a camera, performing for the internet, and out of that have come really rich, meaningful relationships. That's how I have been and will continue to be on this app, and then on anywhere else that I go, because life is too short to put on a fake face and to masquerade as someone you're not. But I would encourage you, no matter where you end up, hopefully we see each other again on another platform, but no matter where you end up, no matter who you choose to be, please retain that spirit of being shamelessly yourself, because the right people, the people who love you and see you and accept you, they will come to you. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be for months or years, but they will come to you. They will find you, both offline and online, and that is what makes life rich. So yeah, thank you for making my life so rich. Thank you for celebrating with me, for supporting me, for listening to me, for being here with me. I had no idea when I turned on this app, downloaded this app in 2021, that this would blossom into the platform that it has. And I'm really, really, really grateful, and I'm really going to miss you all. So please come find me elsewhere if you feel so led. And
yeah, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. That is, at the end of the day, most of what we can do for each other, and the value of that does not go unrecognized. So y'all got me in the comments. I did not expect people to be leaving comments on my farewell videos. With stories of how you found me, or, you know, remarks about how I've impacted you, DMs about how I've impacted you and whatever. So like, this is my and another thing video, because the app's not gone yet. I tend to forget that I'm not just affected by other humans, that I can have an impact on other humans, in the sense of like on this app, you know, I'm just screaming into the void. I didn't come here with a pre-existing audience. I'm not an internet celebrity. I'm just some guy, but I've built a community of people here who are really, really cool. And I was sitting in my car outside my house reading through some of my comments and just being like, wow, you know, we really did all this together. And that just kind of, I got this profound feeling of sadness, because like, we weren't done, you know? Like, I had more things, not to make it all about me, but I had more things I wanted to share with y'all. My TED Talk hasn't come out yet. It was like picked as like an editor's pick, and so they were gonna like release it specially, probably sometime in like late January or early February, and I was gonna share it here. Y'all were here when I got that opportunity, and now I don't get to. This app, this community is part of why this idea for the TED Talk even happened, and I won't be able to share it here, and that really sucks. I downloaded all of my drafts earlier today, and I have a draft of clips spanning years of various steps on my journey to maybe one day being a traditionally published sci-fi novelist. And that draft is just going to be on my hard drive now, because if it finally concludes with me getting an agent and then a book deal, I can't post it here because this account won't be here anymore. I downloaded the entire history of my videos, over 1,100 videos made over the span of, I think, 3.5 years, and like, people listened to me. Like, y'all entertained my shenanigans. You joined my shenanigans. You've been here for so long, and it's just like, it's so weird that we're not done, and yet so very suddenly we are, you know? And like, I just want to reiterate that I'm gonna try not to cry, but I'm probably going to. Every time that someone comments or shares like a way that they've been impacted by me, it is just an awesome reminder to me of the power of fandom and community, and just showing up as yourself, because people take you as you are and have a lot of fun with it, because that's what happened with this account. And we've come a long way from me sitting at my kitchen island in the very first apartment I lived in on my own, and now I'm sitting in the third apartment I've lived in on my own. I have makeup on because of work and stuff, but like, I'm so different, and you're probably different too, but we're so the same at the same time, you know? And it has been an immense honor to be Cam from the internet to you. And you know, every time I type in a username somewhere that's Hello Cameo, this account is where that started, because Cameo is the nickname that my friends gave me, and I just picked Hello Cameo because it kind of sort of rhymed, and I liked that. And people started recognizing me from this account, Hello Cameo, at cosplay meetups, Locktomb cosplay meetups, at conference, at like conventions, and then people would be like, "Oh, you're Cam from the internet." So I became Cam from the internet, and it's just been like an insane honor to be Cam from the internet to you. And I hope that you do choose to follow me other places if you want to, not because I want to keep an audience or whatever, because like, we weren't done, and I want to keep sharing things with y'all, because like, this has been such an immensely integral part of my life for so long. And I wanted to share Alecto the Ninth with you. I wanted to share Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 with you. I wanted to share so many things with you. And I hope we get to do that. So thanks for telling me your memories of how we found each other, or if I had an effect on you. I hope that you know that I think it's really cool. And I'm really gonna miss being Cam from the internet to you guys. Like, really, really, I'm really gonna miss it. So whether we see each other again or not, just know that your presence on this app has made it just above and beyond what anyone I think ever thought it could be. And thank you for letting me into your life and into your routine. Thank you for sharing things with me, letting me share things with you. Yeah, I love you. Thanks for letting me be Cam from the internet. And I hope I see you everywhere else that I end up, because we weren't done. And I hope we get to keep going, even if it's somewhere else.
We're going to come back to my sentiments in that video in a little bit, but as I was reflecting on, it sounds so like serious, as I was reflecting, it's me, like, okay, as I was thinking about like, why am I so sad to the point of almost crying about TikTok going away when there have been other platforms that I've been on that if they went away, I wouldn't miss them as much. And the rest of this episode is basically going to be me answering that question. I have been on the internet for over half my life. I've been a consumer of content on the internet since I was 10. I've been a poster of content on the internet since I was 13 and got a Tumblr account and an email address and a fanfiction.net account. But talking about visual media, I grew up in the era of YouTubers. I grew up watching a lot of like beauty and lifestyle creators. I'm just gonna drop some names, and this might make you feel old. It makes me feel old. Beauty Baby 44, Juicy Star 07, All That Glitters 21, My Life as Ava, Remy Ashton, like those types of creators. And some of them I see like on my For You page on TikTok now, which is really funny because it feels like, you know, running into an old friend via an algorithm. But that's the era that I grew up in. Long form YouTube content, carefully curated lifestyle content. Everyone always looked perfect, was decked out in designer, had giant, beautiful houses. Back then, the like trend was, you know, if a creator got a certain level of big online, they would move to Los Angeles. Like that was how that went. And unlike a lot of my age mates, I didn't daydream about following suit. I was on YouTube in the sense that I had an account to comment on videos, and occasionally I will admit to have made vlogs because the vlogging looked like fun, and I did that in like my own dorky young person way. But the concept of putting content on YouTube for other people to engage with never clicked with me. And looking, like in the moment, I had no idea why that was. Looking back, I think it was mostly because there was like too much expectation to perform on screen. And I'm talking about like societal expectations, like what I was seeing in my quote unquote peers, so to speak. You know, when you scroll through YouTube as a teenager and all you're seeing are perfectly make-upped, perfectly coiffed young women doing, you know, things that cost thousands of dollars, and you are a poor homeschool kid living in the Midwest, like there's no contest. You feel like you can't keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, so why even bother trying? But also, it took so much energy to edit videos. I will 100% say that that is a big reason why I, even as a younger person, didn't do that. It took so much energy to edit videos, to add transitions, to say nothing of like the expectation of perfection that existed in like looking at myself, looking at my face. Like I already putting on a full face of makeup was overstimulating and taxing enough. I couldn't imagine like having to do even more. So where am I going with this? It's a really good question, Cam. I stopped watching those YouTube videos years and years and years ago. Between high school and college and getting a job and moving, like it fell out of my brain space. I downloaded TikTok like a lot of people during the pandemic, and TikTok as like a place that I posted content happened kind of by mistake. You know, I made a video that blew up and I didn't expect it, and I was shit posting on TikTok because I wanted a place to do that and to talk about my life in a candid way. And before TikTok, that was what my Tumblr blog was for. But then my sister followed me on Tumblr, and I love my sister dearly, but you know, there's some stuff that I, you know, talk about that I don't want her to necessarily be privy to or hear about or know about. And that's okay. That's normal and healthy. And TikTok became my outlet of choice. But there was something about the app's interface and culture, because I would argue that most online platforms have a culture unique to itself. Like the vibes on YouTube are different than the vibes on TikTok, and are different than the vibes on Instagram, and are certainly different than the vibes on Twitter and on Tumblr, and on it goes. Like every platform has its own vibes ecosystem, kind of. And I found that like TikTok's vibes were more aligned to me with the experiences online that I was used to. Like comments that didn't require responses, people dialoguing using my video as a jumping off point. And the fact that there was a huge fandom contingent on TikTok did not hurt at all. Because really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, if there are not geeks around me, fandom geeks around me, I don't know what to do. I cannot cosplay a quote unquote normal woman in her 20s, end quote, to save my life. Even at work, where I am arguably like the most milquetoast version of myself, most people there by now know that I not only watch anime, but I also cosplay anime characters once a year at Kasugan. It's part of how I navigate the world. And when I started spending meaningful time on TikTok, it was because I realized that I could create my own algorithm that would show me what I wanted to see, which was stuff about books and stuff about the fandoms I was into. And at that time, and even still now, it is The Locked Tomb by Tamsin Muir. And that leads me kind of to like the other reason why spending time on TikTok suddenly felt like a good use of my internet time, I guess, was like growth felt almost more equitable in terms of possibility. That was a really awkward segue. But like, okay, so remember I said like I didn't want to be on YouTube because there was so much energy to edit videos and there was an expectation of perfection on screen. I didn't see that on my TikTok feed. I saw people who were dressed to the nines and recording designer hauls, and then I would literally scroll and it would be someone who looked like me, no makeup, natural hair, sitting on their bed, talking about a book they read. And I liked that. I liked that diversity of content. I still do. I love that, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how you're dressed. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter anything. Like, almost anyone could theoretically blow up on the app. And is this problematic in some ways? Yes, it is. Is this something that I did not expect? Yes. Was it something that I thought I didn't have to worry about? Yes. Oops. Clearly that was wrong, but it did mean to me back in 2021 when I started posting on TikTok that I could do whatever I wanted and probably find people to talk about it with. I could talk about books, I could talk about anime, I could talk about whatever, and probably find people to commiserate with me about it. And like, I mostly hang out in fandom spaces because it's nice to find people to talk to about stories. But my feed is so varied that I can find anything to talk about. Like, I'm on the lifestyle side of TikTok, and I'm on the pet side of TikTok, and I'm sometimes on the designer side of TikTok, and I don't really know where that came from, but okay. And I'm on the book side of TikTok, like, and on it goes. And what was so, like, staggeringly cool to me when I first got on TikTok and started, like, posting was that I was feeling inspired to put my face on the internet, which was not something that I'd ever experienced before, really, because people were talking to me and wanting me to talk back about things that I was really excited about. And that was not an experience that I had ever had before, really. At least not in such an immediate, like, call and response sort of way, like on Tumblr. The ask box was a thing. If you've been on Tumblr for a while, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. People could leave, like, notes in this digital mailbox and you could respond. But TikTok felt more immediate. People would leave a comment and then I could record a video response to their typed out comment, which also helped because verbal communication, given especially back in like 2021 and 2022, verbal communication was easier on my chronic illness taxed brain than typing out responses was. And so all of that came together and I ended up accidentally building a community that I really cherish. I'm going to get this out of the way now. I have, as of this recording, almost 5,100 followers on TikTok, and I'm well aware that that is not a large number by the grand scheme of things. However, it is the largest following on any platform ever that I have ever had, and it is a very tangibly felt following because pretty consistently, if I'm posting a video, the comments are, as the kids say, popping off. And so I am acutely aware of how many thousands of people are like following me and seeing my face on this app. And it is a staggering number to me because I did not put a lot of intention into building a following the way that I think a lot of like internet personalities, internet people say. I put a lot of intention into it in the sense that like I talked about things that I knew people that hung out with me on the internet would like to talk about because that's the fun of it to me is like vibing and talking about books and whatever. And people would leave comments and I would respond to them. But like from a like a marketing or like audience portability standpoint, because like I work in marketing, so sometimes I think about that stuff, but like I didn't really think about that when it came to TikTok. It wasn't anything but like a space to have fun and talk to other people. And and now that we once again, stare down the reality of like this app might be going away in a few months, I'm kind of at a loss because you can't really quickly port over 5,100 followers to any other platform. I would wager that a lot of my followers probably don't like and use Instagram, and I don't really like or use it either. Same thing with YouTube. As of this recording, I have to do a little bit more research, but I'm hearing rumblings that Substack is perhaps not a platform I want to be supporting, so I have to like figure that out. And it's hard because I want to keep those followers with me, because it even feels weird to like call them my followers. I like when I talk about the people that follow me on TikTok, I refer to them as like the people I hang out with there, or the people that hang out with me on TikTok. Because like to just reduce them to a following feels so shallow in like ways that I don't like. I don't know, but every other platform, it kind of sucks in ways I don't like. I've seen a lot of people say similar things when they talk about migrating off of TikTok and to other platforms. And there's like a lot missing from other platforms that a lot of people have already talked about. And like, this podcast was never designed to be like a cultural commentary sort of thing. Um, but there is a bit of commentary here that I can't help but make because I know that I'm not the only one. And because I didn't put a lot of intention into like community building and multi-platforming my reach as a creator, I was just some guy with a phone saying words into a screen. I know that I'm at a disadvantage because whenever the app does go away, there are going to be people that I won't see again, and that really, really sucks to think about. But what also sucks is thinking about going to other platforms. Like YouTube Shorts is probably the closest to TikTok that we can get, and I don't necessarily mind YouTube Shorts. But I started using TikTok as a way to shitpost about my life just for funsies because my sister followed me on Tumblr. And my sister uses YouTube Shorts the way that I would wager a lot of us use TikTok. And again, I'm not posting anything like objectionable. It's just like sometimes weird to be posting content knowing that my sister might see it. Like that's not a part of the internet experience I necessarily want to have to curate around. I don't like Instagram Reels. Like I think that the Instagram Reels ecosystem is bizarrely toxic. Like, wow, quick divergence there. So I posted a TikTok video and then also put it on Instagram Reels, and it was basically it was me with that audio that says, just remember kids, if they say the government wouldn't do that, oh yes they would, or whatever. And on TikTok the comments were like, very anti-government, agreeing with me, whatever. And on Instagram Reels all it was people being like, wow, your forehead is huge and ugly. And I'm like, the vibes are so weird. Also, like, yeah, I know my forehead's huge. I can't help it. But like, what the fuck? Like, that's just weird, Like, that's not an ecosystem that I like. Like, and I'm not the only one who's even said that. Like, I've seen so many people on multiple platforms, TikTok and Twitter and Blue Sky, everywhere, saying like the Instagram Reel ecosystem is so toxic and gross, and they're not wrong, and I don't care for it. But at the same time, I understand why people are going there. The longer I do this whole creator thing, the more I think about like the creator ecosystem and how many creators use platforms like TikTok. With like TikTok in particular has an algorithm that is slightly more equitable than like YouTube. Like in the era of YouTubers that I grew up in and like kind of came up on the internet on, they had to fight and grind and claw for every subscriber, every follower, everything. Whereas on TikTok, it is, at least by my experience, like as a user, easier to grow than on almost any platform because people just find you on the For You page and can follow you, and that's it. Which, from a user acquisition perspective, again, not to be like, oh, I work in marketing, but like sometimes I do remember that I work in marketing. And like from a user acquisition perspective, like that makes a lot of sense, but it underscores to me how much the creator economy is going to lose when this app no longer exists. It's going to go back to being really hard for people who have something to say, who want to add to the broader cultural commentary on whatever it is. books, gaming, music, movies, anime, life, parenting. I've seen so much about all of these topics and more. And when this app goes away and the equalizer that was that algorithm goes with it, that's going to be really hard for a lot of people to square with. And I think that the creator economy is going to change, and I'm not necessarily sure it's going to change in a good way. And that is really disappointing to me as a creator, and also as someone who has spent a lot of her time engaging with other creators on various apps. The way that TikTok elevates creators, like, no algorithm is perfect. No app is perfect, far from it. And I'm not sitting here saying that TikTok hasn't made mistakes, because it has. But I understand what is going to be lost on a scale that not everyone does, and that makes me sad from like a creative and creator perspective, and just as like a human being who's spent a lot of time on the internet. So, you've already heard what my goodbye address to TikTok was back then. And when I think about what I would say or what I want to say, I would say all that again, honestly. But in terms of like the greater commentary, I don't have like the brain cells for comprehensive commentary, but there are some things that I want to say. I think first, like, creative storytelling in the short form, like on TikTok, takes a lot more work than most people want to admit. It takes a lot of creative brain space for me to figure out how to distill things I want to say into short form videos. Granted, it's like 10 minutes or less, but still, like, that takes a lot of work, and it's kind of nice to have this podcast to skirt around that. But I also think that, like, this is not the sort of ecosystem that will be easy to replicate. I think that other apps will try. I don't know if they'll be successful. I think that sometimes there's a phenomenon that comes around once in a blue moon, and I think that TikTok's existence was one of those, and I don't know if it's going to be replicated. But regardless of that, the thing that I always want to say, always do try to say, especially in moments like this, is I went into TikTok intending to be a casual user, and however and whenever it ends, however I exit TikTok, so to speak, I will have left as someone who became Cam from the internet to over 5,000 people, and that is a privilege that I don't take lightly, and an honor that I'm not sure how I ended up with it, but it is absolutely buck wild, bizarro cool to me that people saw my face on their feed and heard what I was saying about the locked tomb or my life or being chronically ill or however it was that they happened upon me, and were like, yeah, she's kind of weird, but I like her, I want to follow her, or just I'm going to follow her because she's interesting. And not only did that, but commented and made reply videos, and like all of that takes a lot of bravery to put yourself out there on the internet. And I genuinely have had some of the best internet experiences of my time online on TikTok, and that is saying something. And I know that like a lot of people are so shocked when I say that to them. They're like, but TikTok's like a cesspool, like people are so mean there. And I'm like, they are, but not in my circles. And that feels really good to be able to say, because I didn't really do anything. I just showed up. Everyone else chose to hang out and be kind to each other, and like I didn't do any of it on purpose, and that's so cool and so humbling and kind of terrifying that I just opened my mouth online and suddenly, surprise, all these people are there. And I think like a lot of creators, I think, miss the part where they have a certain level of responsibility, right? And I don't miss that at all, and I don't take that lightly at all. Like, I am well aware that as a creator on that app, I have a responsibility to cultivate a community that is good to one another, and that listens to one another, and that cares for one another. And I like to think that I have done my part to make that happen. I mean, even like as of this recording, I've got like this Discord server of people who we just decided to start a Locked Tomb reread or first time read book club to give us some sort of distraction and touch point from the horrors, and there's like almost 100 people in there, and that's nuts to me that people on the internet listened to me talk about this random idea I had and just were like, yeah, sure, I'll hang out with her. And that is like deeply humbling, because I'm just some guy. And it's everyone on the internet, everyone on TikTok, everyone listening to this, everyone in that Discord server that has made me Cam from the internet. And Like, even Cam from the internet came about because a bunch of people at a fan convention where I was cosplaying as Camilla Hecht greeted me and were like, "Oh my gosh, hi, you're Cam from the internet." And I was immensely grateful to them for making the distinction, like, that it's Cam as in Cam from the internet, not Cam as in Camilla Hecht, who I was cosplaying, whose nickname is Cam. But that kind of stuck in my brain, like, yeah, I'm Cam from the internet to people, and that's really cool and kind of scary, but in an awesome way, because I'm just some guy, and you are also all just we're all just people, and you just happened to find me on the internet and you wanted to talk to me. And that is really cool and meaningful and buck wild to me, because I never had my sights set on internet fame. I never had this thought of like, oh, I'm going to be like a big TikTok personality. And I'm not. Like, I'm not saying that I am. 5,000 followers in the grand scheme, I know to many people is very small, but it is so much larger than I thought I would ever have. And I am incredibly grateful that it exists and that people choose to hang out with me. I don't regret anything that I said in that video, and I hope that it doesn't come to it. Like, I hope that somehow something is done where TikTok can exist, because it is a vital source of news and a vital source of income for many people. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to figure out how to replicate my creative pursuits there elsewhere. And if anyone has any ideas, I will gladly hear them. But this has been Cam's diatribe on TikTok that I think I'm pretty sure I said I wasn't gonna do. So thanks for hanging in there with me. And wherever you're listening, I really appreciate you spending some time with me. And until next week, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make some decent choices. And as always, be kind to others and be kind to yourself.